Expert Wassim Nasr, who's with me in the studio. And Wassim, tell us a bit more about why these soldiers did what they did. I mean, clearly there's a good degree of anger and frustration linked to the fight against Islamist militants, but explain to us a bit more.
Well, actually, you're right. It's they were very angry with the situation because they think or they thought that they weren't given the means to fight jihadi factions. And we know that last November, for example, there was a fight in Inyata, and we have the footage where 53 people died, and among them 49 Burkina Faso military. That was a big attack, and actually I got to see, and here we see a 14.5 heavy machine gun, which is rare at use, and here we see them when they overran the barracks of the military in Inyata. And I got to see telegrams at the time. Those military in the barracks were asking their command to be relieved on one hand, to be given ammunition, and to be given food. Because in the telegram, we saw they didn't have any more food, and they were forced to hunt around their barracks in order just to eat. So this made the population very angry. On the 27th of November, the population was in the streets of Ouagadougou denouncing this. And then in December, there was a big fight in the region of Loroum, where jihadi factions, Al-Qaeda especially, are very present. And during this fight, the VDP, which is the militias that are fighting the jihadis with the help of the government, were into a big fight with the jihadis. They lost up to 40 persons, and we have the footage also to see where you see jihadis roaming in the villages of this area, mostly freely among the civilians. And during this fight, the head of the VDP, the commander of this militia, was killed, which pushed Ouagadougou even to declare 3 days of national mourning because of his death. And those two events made it clear that the population, and with it the army, was upset about the situation.
But this story that you're telling us, I mean, it's not just specific to Burkina Faso. We have seen similar things happening in Niger and in Mali, another country, obviously, where there has been a coup d'etat. How similar do you think the jihadist threat is in these countries?
Well, it's all linked, because maybe, for example, when there was the last presidential elections in Burkina Faso, the jihadis made a deal with the government in order to free some of their fighters, and two figures which are very close to Mohamed Koufa or Amadou Koufa, who's the number 2 of Al-Qaeda in Mali. So the situation, of course, for the jihadis, they don't recognize any borders. And after going further south to central Mali, they went further south to Burkina Faso. And what's interesting to see, too, is that, for example, Al-Qaeda didn't claim any operations in Burkina Faso since April 2020. Up to the 14th of January now, because in between there are some actions by units from Al-Qaeda that were described to me as undisciplined units. For example, the massacre of Solan, a unit of Al-Qaeda was responsible of the massacre, but at the same time Al-Qaeda denied it. So today, when you see them back claiming officially operations in Burkina and in Niger on the 14th of January of this month, 2022, you see that they have the means of their ambition, and they are reconfirming their presence there, knowing that also at the same time we have another jihadi factor, which is the Islamic State factor, still very present in parts of northern Burkina Faso, and especially in the Tillabéri region in Niger. So to answer you also about the situation on the military level, when you see the military occupied with political ambitions or political aims, of course they won't be occupied with fighting the jihadi factions. So all of this situation, unclear situation, plays into the hands of the jihadis today.
Wassim Nasr, thanks very much.
Thank you.